Greetings and welcome to this EDF Renewables North America webinar on the proposed Rosalen solar energy project in the towns of Rose and Galen, New York. My name is Dave Clark. I'll be your host for the webinar. Now, before we get started, just a note to let you know that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we're currently working remotely with landowners and other stakeholders, and we're providing virtual updates. All right, to kick things off, let's meet our presenters. Kevin Campbell is a development manager at EDF Renewables. He's been working in the renewable energy industry for 10 years, the last 3 years on a large-scale solar project in New York State. Christine Karlovic is Associate Director at EDF Renewables. Working with EDF's marketing and communications team, Christine has been working in the renewable energy industry for over 13 years and is a native New Yorker who's passionate about community engagement. Maz Trieste is a public outreach consultant at Trieste Associates. Maz founded Trieste Associates in Saratoga Springs, New York in 1998, where she works with clients where public outreach initiatives are an important element of the overall project. She's been working with communities on large-scale renewable energy projects in New York for over 15 years. And Victoria Carey is a senior battery consultant at DNVGL. She has 8 years of experience in the energy industry, with more than 4 years focused on energy storage design, performance, testing, and safety in coordination with developers, utilities, fire departments, and local communities. We'll be hearing from Christine, Maz, and Victoria a little later on, but first up today is Kevin, so I'm going to turn things over to you now, Kevin. Take it away.
Thank you, Dave, for the introduction. I wanted to start by mentioning our key points for this presentation. My team and I are personally committed to engaging with landowners and the community early and often. In fact, your input is critical to the success of our projects. We work hard to inform communities and stakeholders about our proposals and plans. We collaborate with them on project design, and we seek input throughout the process. I'm confident that our level of engagement is unique to EDF Renewables, and we take pride in the positive feedback we receive and the productive relationships that we've built. I'm thrilled to be working with your community on the Rosalen Solar Project. I want you to know that I very much want to see this project evolve with participation from the local community. During this presentation, we'll touch base on many aspects of solar technology, with special emphasis on these 3 themes: obtaining your feedback, stimulating the local economy, and our commitment to biodiversity. Now for the agenda of today's presentation. Our aim is to give you a better understanding of the Rosalen Solar Project by giving you a solar primer and more information about what a solar project is. Then we want to talk about the benefits of solar energy in general, and more locally if the Rosalen Solar Project was to be realized. We will provide you with more information about EDF Renewables, the company behind Rosalen Solar. Then we will take a closer look at the Rosalen Solar Project and what lies ahead. Finally, before wrapping up, we will talk about a few of the frequently asked questions about solar projects of this nature. And at this point, I'll hand it over to Maz to talk to you about some of the benefits of solar energy.
Well, thank you, Kevin. First, I'd like to point out that solar energy is a powerful source of energy derived from the sun. An interesting fact is that sunlight that shines on the Earth in a single hour could meet world energy demand for an entire year. Well, that said, solar energy accounts for only 1% of the energy produced in New York State. Only 4% comes from wind, 14% comes from hydro, 14% comes from nuclear, and the majority, 67% of our electricity, currently comes from fossil fuels. But this is changing. New York is a national leader in accelerating change and promoting clean energy. The New York Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act set a target at 70% of the state's electricity to come from renewable energy by 2030. Projects like Rosalen Solar would contribute towards this goal using homegrown energy generated in New York, with associated jobs and economic benefits, staying locally.
So how does solar energy get from the sky and into a form where it can be used to power our homes and businesses? First, energy falls onto the Earth's surface each day in the form of sunlight. The sunlight is absorbed by solar panels and is converted into electricity. Solar cells are small, square-shaped silicon semiconductors, kind of like a computer chip. Each solar cell is connected into a network of many other cells to create a photovoltaic module, or a panel. Rosalen solar is proposed to be made of 1 million panels. The sunlight absorbed by the panels is transformed into usable energy by an inverter that turns direct current energy, think of a battery, into alternating current electricity, the kind of electricity your homes and businesses use. Electricity generated by Rosalen solar would be injected into the transmission line, which is the steel line on towers running west to east in the southern part of the town of Rose. And from there, some of the power could be consumed locally in upstate New York, and some could be consumed along the way toward New York City. Now that we know how solar energy works, let's explore the various elements of a solar energy project. On this slide, you can see from the top left the birth of a solar project, and at the bottom, a completed project. Starting from the top, steel or aluminum racking that holds the solar panels is installed on a series of steel posts throughout the site. Then, solar panels are installed on the racking. These solar panels are typically manufactured using safe and non-toxic materials made of silicon, copper, and aluminum, which are sandwiched between glass and a plastic encapsulant with an aluminum frame. The solar panels proposed for Rosalen Solar are the same type of panels commonly installed on rooftops in schools. Other components include equipment such as the inverters that convert sunlight into usable energy from direct current to alternating current electricity, transformers that increase the voltage of electricity, seen on the top right, so it can be injected onto the power grid, and a project substation, seen on the bottom left, which conditions the electricity and offers the necessary protections to allow the project electricity to be tied into the grid. Once on the grid, the electricity from solar is no different than the electricity generated by other sources like nuclear, hydro, coal, or natural gas. The only difference is how the electricity is made. And as seen from the bottom, middle, and bottom right photos on this slide, the land underneath the solar panels is revegetated after construction. You can even see sheep grazing among the solar panels in the lower right photo. And turning it over to Victoria to speak to you about energy storage.
Thanks so much, Kevin. So some projects, including the one for Rosalen, may include an energy storage system. An energy storage system, which you can see an example here, allows solar energy to be used when the sun is not shining or when extra energy is needed. Normally, more energy might be needed at the end of the day, for example, with people returning home from work, turning on the lights, turning on the TV, turning on the AC, all at the same time. Now, perhaps extra energy can be used to support hospitals running at full capacity. The whole purpose of energy storage is to make sure that the solar energy is flexible to meet the needs of your community. The energy storage system may either be spread around a solar facility, side by side with the solar inverters that Kevin pointed to previously, or may be centrally located next to the substation that Kevin also identified. By the time Rosalen Solar goes into construction, the energy storage technology may have evolved, but for now, what's proposed is the same type of technology that provides power for your cell phones or your laptops or even electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries. You can see in the upper left what a typical battery cell might look like. It's the same shape as batteries you might put into your remote controls. In a large system, like may be included here, thousands of those cells would be connected together and stored in racks, about 8 feet tall, and paired with monitoring and controls equipment designed to keep the system operating safely. The systems can either be in a number of containers, like shown here, that look kind of like what you might see on the back of a truck, or gathered together in a building. An energy storage system also includes a thermal management system, just like an HVAC might be on your building, office building or residential building, to keep the temperature just in the right range, just like the fans on the back of your laptop may operate when you've been using it for a while. Finally, an energy storage system includes many safety features, which will be addressed a little bit later in the presentation. It's important to know that New York State leads the nation in terms of the requirements that need to be followed to ensure that energy storage is safely installed and operated in your community. The team at EDF Renewables will keep the community informed of whether energy storage will be indeed a part of the facility's final design? And if so, what the technology will be? There will be ample opportunities for public input along the way. Take it away, Kevin.
Great, thank you, Victoria, for that oversight of energy storage. So the next slide wanted to show what a final project design might look like. So this is a map showing the EDF Renewables proposed Morse Ridge Solar Project located in the town of Mount Morris. So as you can see here, the project is made by a number of pods, we call them. So these groupings of blue are a number of solar panels, and this would be a pod, this would be a pod, and these pods of solar panels would connect with underground collection lines to a central location that would be connected to the existing power grid. And this is what a project like the Rosalen Solar Project may look like once the project is fully designed, and whether the pods are spaced out by the same amount or similar to Mount Morris, or whether they're much closer together, depends on the land that we're able to sign with local landowners. So with this in mind, Maz, can you talk about some of the solar benefits with us once again?
As shown here, the solar industry offers numerous opportunities and benefits. The solar industry generates enough electricity to power more than 12.3 million homes and offset carbon emissions in a significant way, equivalent to taking more than 15 million vehicles off the road. In 2018, the solar industry generated a $17 billion investment into the American economy. Solar employment grew about 6 times faster than the overall US economy between 2013 and 2018. Across the United States, more people work in solar than any other form of energy, including fossil fuels. In 2018, 242,000 people worked in solar. In 2019, solar contributed 10,740 jobs. In New York State, more jobs than any other sector of the energy industry in New York State. So the local communities will benefit greatly from the Rosalen Solar Project. As proposed, the project would contribute millions of dollars per year to landowners hosting project components. This would be an important long-term stable source of income for landowners and farmers in the area, not just from landowner leases, which can help to provide stable sources of income to landowners, but from jobs, spending, and revenues. The project would also contribute about $1 million annually in new revenues to be shared by the Town of Rose, Town of Galen, and Wayne County, Clyde-Savannah Central School District, and North Rose-Wolcott Central School District. These are important new revenues that can be used to improve local services, infrastructure, or lower taxes. It will help the community, and we need the community to help us decide on how to make these changes happen. As a result, and as proposed by the solar project, we would create over 300 construction jobs for up to 2 years, and about 4 full-time, highly skilled jobs to operate and maintain the facility for decades to come. This will contribute important new spending for the local community, including increases in revenues to the local hospitality sector, like restaurants and lodging, and other services. Where possible, efforts will be made to hire locally. Well, this is an important slide. For more information about solar careers, there's an Interstate Renewable Energy Council, and it's very resourceful, and you can really locate this map later on in the presentation, and we'll have a listing for the link that's presented in this slide to get more information about this. So as a testament to the work that EDF Renewables has been doing across New York State, here is a quote from the superintendent of schools in the Copenhagen community where EDF Renewables built a wind project a couple of years ago. Quote, "The EDF Renewables team funded a wonderful playground at the school at no cost to taxpayers. Our students benefit as future jobs in the renewable energy sector continue to grow. Wind and solar power are the nation's fastest growing job sectors today, providing good paying careers for generations to come. Our students will benefit from more renewable energy developments that literally create a brighter future while offering a career that helps the planet heal. And the feedback we've received from landowners, farmers in particular, is very positive. Here's one from John Shasinski. He's a farmer in Salone, New York. For our community and for the future we leave to our children, this project will give us a sustainable option for our future energy needs. It'll create good paying jobs, open doors to new career opportunities, and provide meaningful revenues for our towns, schools, and the county. There's another quote from Jeremy Verratti he's a farmer in Gasport, New York. Well, I firmly believe in property rights. This idea is fundamental in our county and in agriculture overall. EDF Renewables has granted our town an opportunity to generate renewable energy or renewable electricity. This would bring stable income to farmers, towns, and schools that could use those dollars, stabilize taxes for everyone. I would simply ask that you take a look at it and educate yourself, ask good questions, and try to keep an open mind. Okay. And finally, beyond economics, it's important to note that solar energy is clean and sustainable. No fossil fuels are burned to generate electricity. No fuel transport is required. There is no combustion, no emissions, and no odors. Unlike other sources of energy, there is no water use for heating or cooling and no water discharges. I leave this to you, Christine, to explain all about EDF Renewables.
Thank you, Maz. So we've talked about the many benefits of solar energy. We'll now talk more about EDF Renewables North America. We have been working in communities like yours for over 35 years. We have developed more than 16 gigawatts of renewable energy projects. That's the equivalent of 160 million 100-watt light bulbs. EDF Renewables is one of the largest operations and maintenance companies in North America, with over 11 gigawatts of projects under services contracts. Because we not only develop our projects, but we also operate and maintain them, we are in it for the long haul and expect to be present in your community for the lifetime of our projects. We employ over 1,300 employees. Almost half of those employees are in operations and maintenance and located in communities throughout North America. Our team is currently working on 26 gigawatts of projects, including Rosalen Solar. We employ nearly 1,300 employees. Almost half of those employees are in operations and maintenance and located in communities throughout North America. Our team is currently working on 26 gigawatts of projects, including Rosalen Solar. As a company, we value honesty, transparency, and two-way dialogue. We engage with stakeholders early and often, and we establish a long-lasting presence in the community. We encourage you to contact us to ask any questions or share your ideas at any time. Safety is our #1 priority. It's a part of our corporate culture and values. Nothing is more important to us than having our employees go home to their families each day. This safety culture is also extended to all contractors, consultants, and communities where we work and generate electricity. Our facilities are designed with safety being top of mind. We monitor and maintain our systems to the highest of standards. Our Operation Control Center in San Diego provides monitoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Additionally, an emergency preparedness and response plan is organized with feedback from the local first responder community. We train first responders before installation and then every year thereafter for the life of the project. These plans and training are arranged prior to the start of construction. Many companies have had to reevaluate their ability and capacity to continue business during these difficult times. It's important to mention, especially now, that we have the financial capacity and the expertise to weather the current economic downturn. EDF Renewables is committed to New York State. We have more than 2,000 megawatts of projects in development, including the recently awarded Morris Ridge project that will power 38,000 New York homes and be operational by the end of 2023. We've earned the support of the community at Morris Ridge, receiving positive feedback from town officials and the community at large. We prioritize New York consultants and businesses in our development activities. We are working towards identifying and minimizing potential impacts while maximizing the economic benefits of our projects, including Rosalen Solar. Back to you, Kev.
This figure shows our 2,000 megawatt development pipeline in New York State. This is enough energy to power 500,000 New York homes and includes solar and energy storage projects across upstate and downstate New York, and a wind project in operation in upstate New York. Finally, to close this section on EDF renewables and our work in New York, we wanted to share a few clips from newspaper articles on our Morris Ridge solar project, just highlighting the importance of building strong community relationships. So for example, from the Livingston County News on March 29th, and I quote, "The project has the backing of Mount Morris's elected officials, with Town Supervisor Charles DePasquale, former State Senator Catherine Young, and State Assemblyperson Marjorie Burns, all having submitted letters in support of the project to the state's Public Service Commission, which oversees the solar farm's permitting process." And also a second article from the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, January 24th. 30 miles southeast of Byron, the outlook is more positive. We're 100% behind it. Everybody seems really excited about it, said Mount Morris Town Supervisor Charles DePasquale, referring to the huge Morris Ridge solar farm that would be built there. It's going to be a win-win situation for the town in terms of revenue coming in, which is definitely needed. And lastly, from the Spectrum News, January 24th, everything they've asked us to do, we've asked them to do. They've done. Mount Morris Town Supervisor Charles DePasquale said, "We've had a good working relationship since day one. It's just unbelievable. We want this." So these are the kind of relationships and comments we're looking to get from all of our projects around New York State. Next, wanted to talk to you about the Rosalen Solar Project and provide you more details about this specific project. So first, there's several reasons that we might choose a site or project area. Available land that is already cleared, land that's near an existing transmission line with the capacity to accommodate the electricity generated by the project, and most of all, a supportive community. We meet regularly with key stakeholders before and during project siting and development to understand key issues, to think about ways to support the community, and to minimize impacts to people who live, work, and play in the host communities. And we stay connected throughout project construction and operation. Rosalen Solar is being proposed on about 2,000 acres of privately owned land in the towns of Rose and Galen, south of North Rose and north of Clyde. At this time, we've already signed agreements with over a dozen landowners in the area to host project components and continue to engage with landowners to sign additional land to reach our targets. Landowners who live in the area and who are interested to host project components and secure long-term fixed revenue are encouraged to contact us. The project would provide enough electricity for 75,000 households or to drive an electric vehicle for 2 billion miles in 1 year's production. Construction would start in 2023 and would inject over $1 million of direct revenue to the towns and school districts each year for 20 years. And as you can see on the map here, the green line is our project target area. There's the village of Clyde here to the south, and the hamlet of North Rose to the north. And the project area spans the town boundaries of Rose and Galen to the east and to the west. EDF Renewables initiated the Rosalen Solar Project in the spring of 2019 when we reached out to local leaders and landowners to solicit interest for the project. Public meetings were held last summer in Rose and Galen and attended by 80 people. Feedback we heard at these meetings was very positive, and we are encouraged to continue working on this project together. Last fall, we started the permitting process by completing the Project Involvement Program Plan that summarizes the project and shares details on how we propose to share project information and obtain feedback from the community. This year, we are starting our permitting studies and plan to submit our permit application in 2021. We plan to hold a public meeting at the end of March, but due to COVID-19, prepared this webinar instead. Should we be able to secure a contract for the project to go forward, construction could start in 2023 and operation could start in 2024. The project would last for 30 or more years. The regulatory process requires a number of environmental studies and to determine the potential impacts of a project and to identify ways to minimize those impacts. The studies are submitted as part of an application package for a permit anticipated in 2021, which is reviewed by the community and state agencies for completeness and compliance. Some of you may have heard that the permitting process in New York is currently being updated, but rest assured that EDF Renewables remains committed to the local community, listening to your feedback and informing you as the project progresses. Next, we'll cover some common questions and themes around solar energy and the proposed projects. So this is a list of questions that I'd like to go through in the next few minutes. First, EDF Renewables is sensitive to the visibility of our project components and want to work with neighbors and the community to help integrate the project into the community character. This means typically planting a buffer of trees along roadsides and near neighboring homes. This slide shows an example of a view of a solar array in an agricultural field without an existing hedgerow or vegetative screening. You can see the existing view, the view in about 1 year, and the view 7 to 10 years later. In time, the view of the panels is buffered by the vegetation. This slide shows how we might address views of a solar array from a more sensitive structure, like a residence adjacent to a proposed solar pod, without an existing hedgerow. We assume this would need the greatest amount of vegetative screening. The view of the panels would be softened by creating a year-round buffer with time. Compared to the last simulation, the trees here are planted more densely, and there are more coniferous trees offering year-round visual screening. This slide addresses questions about solar projects and noise. The map shown is from the Morse Ridge Solar Project and shows the proposed location of inverters and transformers within the solar pods. So within this map, the black dots are where the solar inverters and transformers are located. The contour lines show the expected noise levels as we move away from the equipment. More importantly, the map shows the location of neighboring residences. The aim is to maintain a noise profile of less than 40 decibels at neighboring homes. This is the level of noise that is similar to that of a quiet room. As shown on the map, most homes are outside of the 30 decibel contour line. At 30 decibels, the noise from the solar facility is faint and may be difficult to perceive. A similar map would be prepared as part of the Rosalen permitting process and shared with the community when the project is more advanced. On the topic of solar equipment safety, solar panels being proposed for the project are the same as those being installed on rooftops and schools. They're crystalline silicon panels that are manufactured using safe and non-toxic materials. The inverters and transformers do not contain heavy metals or toxins, and no environmental risk is present, even in the face of a malfunction or damage. Where possible, we avoid the use of pesticides and herbicides in the solar array areas. And now I just wanted to turn it over to Victoria once again to speak to us about energy storage.
Thanks, Kevin. With respect to the safety of the proposed battery storage facility, New York State leads the nation in safety requirements. These requirements were adopted last year and will apply to the installation here in Rosalen. These requirements impact every phase of an energy storage system's life, making sure that the systems are designed, manufactured, transported, installed, commissioned, maintained, operated, and eventually decommissioned and removed safely. Further, the codes and standards require testing and certifications for every single piece of equipment within the energy storage system, including the battery cells, inverters, and the system as a whole, just like any other equipment. These standards, I can list them all out for you, but it comes out to a lot of alphabet soup and numbers. But the most important part is that they come from a trusted source. UL, or Underwriters Laboratory, is used in many US standards. And if you go into your kitchen and open your microwave door, you'll even see a UL stamp that indicates that that's safe for use. That same stamp is required on every part of an energy storage system. And to get those stamps, the system really needs to be run through the ringer, making sure that it can be hit and dropped and crushed and even set on fire before it would be allowed to be installed. So you know that if the system can move forward in your community, it is only done once it can be done safely. Finally, the system will be constantly monitored to ensure everything continues operating safely once it's been installed. And in the very unlikely case of an emergency, that first responders are notified immediately. In the case of an emergency, no specialized equipment or hazmat teams are necessary to respond to emergencies. EDF Renewables would provide training for all local first responders and pay for any special equipment required to respond to an incident if identified during design. Energy storage systems, like the one proposed for this project, are already safely installed in densely populated urban environments, like New York City. With these protections that are previously noted and seeing safely operating systems, DNVGL has done a detailed risk analysis and found that living near an energy storage system is less risky than, say, driving your car for 10 hours a week, maybe like a common commute, or working in industries like agriculture or mining. So with that, I guess in summary, is that energy storage systems, if installed, will be installed safely and will operate safely in your community. Back to you, Kevin.
Great, thanks, Victoria. And I just wanted to point out before leaving this slide that the energy storage containers shown on the top photo here is an installation by EDF Renewables in Illinois. And there's a top view on the bottom. You can see the same energy storage containers here located between a commercial area and a residential area, further showing the safety of these systems. Common question about solar, or any new project for that matter, is what is the impact on property values? The Solar Energy Industries Association has examined property values across the United States. Their studies demonstrate large-scale solar arrays often have no measurable impact on the value of adjacent properties, and in some cases may even have positive effects. Furthermore, the proximity to solar farms does not deter the sales of agricultural or residential land. Large solar projects have similar characteristics to greenhouse or single-story residence, and the integration of visual buffers, such as natural vegetation, trees, and green fences lessen the visual impact of the project from neighboring homes and roads. Further, we are committed to integrating appropriate visual buffers around the facility to help soften the view of the site and contributing $1 million per year to the town of Rose, town of Galen, Wayne County, Clyde-Savannah Central School District, and North Rose-Wolcott Central School District. These new revenues will help fund local services and infrastructure, reduce the pressure on local property taxes, and provide for local school districts for decades to come. These are all factors that can help keep property values strong in the area. People often ask about hunting. About 2,000 acres of private property from participating landowners who are hosting project infrastructure and within the fenced area of the facility would be off limits for hunting. The New York Hunting and Trapping Guide requires certain setbacks, for example, 500 feet for firearms, 250 feet for crossbows, and 150 feet for bows, from dwellings, farm buildings, or structures in occupation. This could mean some setbacks would be required from some project components like inverters, transformers, and energy storage containers that are typically installed well within the project fence. There are no setbacks from solar panels though. Therefore, we anticipate any additional setbacks outside of the project fence occurring and on non-participating lands to be negligible. And communication is key. Numbers will be posted at visible areas around the facility fence to reach out to our operations team at any time, 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, and speak to a live voice. Another question is, what happens at the end of the project? At the end of the project life, equipment will be removed up to 3 or 4 feet below grade, waste will be disposed of, and the ground will be revegetated as necessary to minimize erosion. These end-of-life activities are guaranteed in a number of ways. First, in the lease agreements signed with landowners who agree to host project components in our project permitting and is typically in the local town codes. To ensure these activities are planned for and funded, the project will post a security in favor of the host towns, in this case the town of Rose and town of Galen, likely in the form of a letter of credit to cover the cost to decommission the facility. The value of the security is reevaluated every 5 years to account for inflation. This security is required by the New York State and is posted in favor of the towns before operations begin. By providing these funds prior to the start of operations, local communities are protected in the event that a project owner is unable to provide funds when the project enters into the decommissioning phase. So how else does the community benefit beyond construction jobs and tax revenues? It's important to note that solar energy and agriculture are complementary uses. The construction of a solar project can and has resulted in unique and creative partnerships with local farmers and apiarists. Solar facilities are naturally vegetated, and pollinators like bees and butterflies are proven to thrive within the project footprint. For example, more than 300 sheep graze the vegetation under solar panels, and bees make 300 jars of honey per year within one of our 200-acre solar sites. A variety of birds also nest in the racking under the panels. This provides area farmers with additional opportunities for steady income, and these are opportunities we want to explore at the Rosalen Solar Project. The photo on this slide is of EDF Renewables' Arnprior facility. When it was built, it was the largest solar facility in North America on 200 acres of land 10 years ago. Now, the partnership with a local sheep farmer reduces the need for mechanical mowing, and the farmer can sell grass-fed, free-range lamb on the local market. And lastly, we spread seed mixes that support grazing and biodiversity. In fact, in partnership with a local apiarist, our Arnprior site produces 300 jars of honey every year, also providing unique benefit and of helping the dwindling honeybee population. Milkweed was also planted on our site back in 2017 to provide habitat for monarch caterpillars and butterflies. Both caterpillars and butterflies have been using the milkweed since. And now I'd like to turn it back over to Maz.
Thank you, Kevin. EDF Renewables is committed to integrating a responsibly sited solar project that will create more than 300 construction jobs for up to 2 years, integrate agricultural activities within the project area, and contribute significant new investments to the community, including providing millions annually in stable income for landowners and $1 million per year in new revenues for the town of Rose, the town of Galen, Wayne County, Clyde-Savannah Central School District, and the North Rose Wolcott Central School District. EDF Renewables and their team is really committed to developing the Rosalen Solar Project that integrates creative ways to partner with farmers and other members of the community to benefit everyone. We are in it for the long haul. Please be sure to take a look at a slide that lists all of the links that were referenced during this webinar, so you can obtain all the information you need about solar power and the project. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maz, and a big thanks to all of our presenters, Kevin Campbell, Christine Karlovic, Maz Trieste, and Victoria Carey, for all of their insights. We hope we answered some of your questions about solar energy, EDF Renewables, the Rosalen Solar Project, and other topics. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Kevin Campbell if you have any questions or comments about the topics covered in this presentation or other questions related to solar or EDF Renewables. We're also looking forward to speaking with landowners who might be interested in hosting facility components, and we invite them to reach out to our land acquisition specialist, Todd Rude, for more information. Thanks so much for being with us. That does conclude the webinar. Have a great day.